Mike McInturff, Michael McInturff. I was born in North Little Rock, Arkansas on October 23rd, 1947. Well, we moved pretty quickly after I was, well, I guess I was two when we moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma. My dad went to College of the Ozarks. And so he was going to school, and we lived in Tulsa, and it was a shorter drive for him to go from Tulsa. And then I guess when I was three, maybe almost four, we moved to Fort Worth, Texas, and that's where I grew up. Was in Fort Worth. I've been there ever since. So I really kind of claim Fort Worth as my real home. So I'm a Texan, so to speak. It was good. I mean, it was a good town. He worked at my dad was a pharmacist at a drugstore right next to the TCU campus, and so we lived 2 blocks from TCU campus, and so I got to see a lot of things around there that had to do with students, and my dad's in the store that he was at. See a lot of the college life. College kids would in there. They have soda fountains back then, so the kids would come in there, and I'd get to hang out in there and be a part of that. So I really kind of enjoyed that part of it. There was a movie theater in the same block, and every Saturday morning was kids' day at the movies, and we'd go pay a dollar, I think, and get to watch movies all day long. They had cereals, and, it was all morning. They'd have cereals on. They had westerns and space movies, not like Star Wars or anything, but it was great, and comedies, and so you live to go to the next Saturday. You look forward to see the next Saturday, so you could pick up where they left off. They'd start one and then finish it with the good guy hanging off a cliff or something, and I think it's where cliffhanger came into. So you'd want to come the next Saturday too. So it was really good, especially those times especially. I enjoyed. The high school that I ended up at, and it also was close to not far from TCU, but we had moved further away at that time. So I really wasn't confronted with much segregation. I knew it was going on, and in the high school I was at, there never was much there. There wasn't much involvement with it. We had quite a few Hispanics that went to the school that I was at, but very few African Americans. And especially even after segregation, I think there were very few. There wasn't really a lot of talk about it. It was more us talking on our own. The area of town that I lived in didn't. There weren't a lot of African Americans anyway, and they weren't busing at that time. So it really didn't affect me very much at that time. I was involved in it with what I saw on the news and what I'd heard with different people during all of that. Of course, the '60s were people build it up as being a great time, but it was really a difficult time. I mean, it was hard. The Kennedy assassination, I guess, started it all off and then uh, you know, Martin Luther King and Bobby Kennedy and the Vietnam War, and it was just lots of terrible things happened during those times. Uh, but with from the segregation standpoint of it, I really felt for the African Americans at that time, and there were several of us that felt that way. And when the March on Washington happened, we packed up. We were going to go. We were headed to Washington. We got about halfway through Arkansas and the car broke down. So we didn't make it. We had to get the car fixed, turn around, and come back. But but that was kind of our thinking at that time as well. The group that I was with, that I kind of hung in. I was at a big high school. Uh, my graduating class was 998 kids. The school was a little over 3,000. So it was a big school. But so a lot of times you kind of gravitate toward one group or another of individuals, and we were kind of leaned that direction, the people that I was with, and so we wanted to be as much a part of it as we could, but there really wasn't that much that we could do. Well, because I felt they were being wronged in the way they'd been treated in the past, and and even though I wasn't around it, you'd hear more about it, and I didn't even hear a lot of the atrocities that really happened, especially in the deeper South. But it was going on there too, and the things that we did hear about, we thought, this is wrong. It shouldn't be. So we really had feelings in that direction, and it eventually, every once in a while would cause problems too, because there were a lot of people at that time that felt completely opposite of that. There was never any not any real physical contact conflict, but yeah, there was conflict. There were a lot of arguments over it, and there was some physical conflict with others. We never really got into it with anybody else, but there were hard feelings both directions. I mean, in both ways. The people that felt that African Americans were where they needed to be in their place, and it shouldn't change, and all of that, were adamant about it, and that's the way. But that's the way they were brought up, and that's the way their parents were brought up, and it's hard to fault them completely, because it's what they've been taught all their lives, and it's what their parents were taught all their lives. So uh, you could almost understand the direction they were coming from as well. But from a humanistic standpoint, you just couldn't go along with it. Well, it just after high school, I went to, like I said, Tyler Junior College, and it was the you know kind of the same thing. It was the late '60s. Uh, there were at college more African Americans that we were involved with and around, and so I got to be friends with people, and just kind of grounded what we already felt like, into realizing that people are just people. It makes no difference, where they come from or what they are, and they've all got everybody has their strengths and their weaknesses and their faults, just like the rest of us. So it really kind of embedded that even deeper in me, and then my mother died when I was in junior college, and I came back to Fort Worth, and I stopped school, and ended up getting married, and then got drafted and went in the Army. So as soon as I left school, they found out about it. They said, "Oh, okay, he's not going to school anymore." So they sent me a letter. Well, at first I just said, because I had been married about 6 months, and I just said, I wasn't going to go. I said, I'm not going. And of course, that's bold talk. I threw it in the trash. I didn't even go to the first physical. They send you a letter for a physical, and I just didn't go. The more I thought about it, and of course, I had my wife, and I didn't want to go to jail or anything. So they sent me another letter and said, "You need to come to your physical. This is your second one." Well, being the organized person that I am, I actually didn't make it. I, I just missed it. I don't know if I had the wrong day or what it was, but I missed it, and then got the calendar out, or what I was looking at. I got the letter back out, and I said, "Oh no, I was supposed to be there yesterday, the day before." So I got a third letter from them, and this time they said, "You will come and pack your bag, because you're not going. You're not coming back. And if you don't show up this time, the FBI will be at your doorstep the next day."
Wow.
Okay, so I'll be there. And my wife was pregnant, and it was hard, because we was gonna have to leave her, and so I was, and being drafted, you knew you were going to Vietnam at that time. Now that's just the way it was. So and I did, and so when she had the baby, I didn't see her until she was almost 2 years old. And then even in the Army, there was prejudice even in the Army. I mean, and the blacks, the African Americans stayed with the African Americans, and the whites stayed with the whites. And there wasn't a whole lot of intermingling. There was some, especially if you were involved in something and you depended on each other. It was there, and I really tried to get as involved with as much of it as I could. But from their side of it too, you have to understand how distrustful that they were of us. Here they were over there in Vietnam fighting, and but yet their rights were not any better than what it had been really. And the death of Martin Luther King just profounded that. It just made it worse. No, I didn't think it was fair at all. But again, just similar to back in the States, there were those that sympathized with the African Americans and wanted to try and be friends with them, and then there were those that wanted absolutely nothing to do with them. And I hated that. I tried to walk that line in the middle that was hard to do. And they would really try to stay to themselves as much as possible and not even be around us. And I hated that, but I also understood it too, because there was a lot of prejudice then. I mean, that was 1968, 69, 70. So prejudice was alive and well. It was still going strong, and we even had guys in the Army and the guys that were over there that had been affiliated with the KKK and different organizations too, like that made it even worse because they were really adamant about their feelings. So it was even sometimes hard to walk that line in the middle. But uh, and if you leaned too much to the other side, then you were taking chances then too. So, we asked that question too while we were over there. Why are we here? What are we doing? Supposedly, it was the communist aggression of the North Vietnamese against the South Vietnamese that the South Vietnamese did not want it. They wanted to have have a democratic society, or at least as close to one as they could. And the North Vietnamese was a communist part of the country that wanted to keep it that way and wanted the whole country to be that way. And so that was basically what we were fighting for. The French had been there before us trying to do the same thing, but they failed. And that's when we stepped in after that, and we didn't do much better. Uh, it was a strange situation. It really was. We'd take a hill, we'd take an area, and we'd take it over, and then we'd pack up and leave. And a month later, they'd have it back again because we were gone. So we thought, well, why did we do that? And lose people in the process. So we never really understood and what was going on and why those kinds of things happen. But it was still. I think when I was there in 68, 69, that was the the most. That was the time when we had the most people over there. We were at our height as far as military operation was concerned. It was right after Tet. The Tet Offensive is what really set that off too. Uh, it showed the strength of the enemy and their resolve in what they were doing too. So it increased our participation as a country in it, but still didn't do any good. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. It's funny. I even that we had barbers that would come into our camp. I was in artillery, and we'd get back to base camp every once in a while, and there were barbers back there, and we'd get our hair cut. And I remember this one that was a barber and cut our hair, and we talked to him, kid around with him, play around with him, and his sister was there too, and would always come in there too, and she invited us to come to their house, to his parents' house, to the parents' house, and we thought, oh, okay, we'll see if we can work that out. And uh, we went back, and I think one day some of the guys were headed over to Chulai Beach, and I said, well, she gave me directions to get over there. I want to go over there to the house, which was really kind of stupid because I was by myself. And they dropped me off, and I went over there and ate dinner with them, and they had a big picture of Lyndon Johnson up on the wall and all this stuff, and they were very gracious. But her brother wasn't there, the one that was the barber, and left and went back, got back to camp, and 2 weeks later we ended up killing her brother trying to cut into the wire and come in after us. He was an NBA, and that was a big part of the war. You couldn't tell who was who. We had no idea who was uh, against us and who was with us. As far as the people were concerned. I still believe that the rest of the family were adamant about us being there and wanted us there, but yet the brother had joined the NBA and was part of that group too. So it split their families. It split a lot of the families that were there up, and it was hard on them, you know. And it was a very poor poverty nation. They're all of the villages that we'd seen, in the part that I was in, were just huts and just scratching for a living. It, it was really a tough life for them, but they seemed happy with it too. At the same time, you know. So, so you just never knew who was your friend and who wasn't if you got out among the people very much. I remember going through villages on Highway 1, and we'd be in deuce and a half, 2.5 ton trucks, and going through there. And even anytime we'd slow down or stop, kids would come running out of the buildings, and want to jump up on the truck because they always knew we'd give them something. We'd give them chocolate or something. So that was, I love being around kids even then. Oh yeah, I do. I think and it's hard, and I understand that, but yeah, I think it is. I think you have to. I think you morally have to. That it's your moral obligation that if others are being mistreated in a certain way, you should stand up for them and stand up against those that are doing things against them. I wish more of our country felt more that way. When I was growing up, I kind of slanted towards the liberal side, I guess you'd say, and stayed there. And of course, the whole group that I ran with, that's pretty much what all of us did. So we stood up that direction, and we tried to do something that way, and I'd still do it. Wish there was more that we could do even today, because it's still there. It's better, but it's not gone. Education. Education has to be the key to all of it, because uh, just in fact, just today with third graders, and I spent a lot of time talking about reading in a paper about the election process and how it all worked out and how it is, but also going back to the Lincoln era and the problems that were going on at that time, and explaining to them what slavery really was, because they really don't understand it, and I think even a lot of adults don't really understand the severity of it, and look at people today as just being complainers about it. But if your heritage goes back to that point, it still has to wear on you. It's even though, yes, we didn't have anything to do with that, and that's true, but you still have to have feelings for the families of those that did go through it. And does it mean that they get free passes and things like that for through society? No, no. Everybody still has to pull their own weight and do what they have to do in our world. But we have to understand. We need to understand, and understanding is through education. That's how you get it. So we don't make those same mistakes again. Even and obviously we would never go back to slavery again, but understanding how how to treat people. You know, if we look at how people were treated then, and you know, even the third graders like, oh, how can we do such a thing? How can we do things like that? Well, we did, and so we have to learn from that and say, you know, treatment of people is not just slavery; it's just treating the person next to you in a kind way and in a way that they deserve. Uh, and if somebody's different from you, it's okay. Let them be different, and because you're different from them too. so we all are, and none of us are Native Americans. We may have some Native American in us, but we all came here from somewhere. So we're all immigrants, and that's kind of what I want people to realize too, that you know uh, we just need to treat each other with the respect that we all look for to be treated in our own way towards us.